The human brain is biologically incapable of comprehending the number 1 billion. We evolved to understand small tribes, local villages, and visible horizons. When a number grows too large, it stops being a reality to us and simply becomes a statistic. Now imagine a single building, a structure of rusted iron, toxic fog, and Gothic spires that reaches beyond the clouds and digs deep into the mantle of a poisoned planet. Inside this single building, there are not 1 million, not 1 billion, but perhaps 100 billion human beings. This is a Hive City. In the universe of Warhammer 40,000, it is the standard habitat for the vast majority of the human race. But to look at a Hive City merely as an architectural marvel is a mistake. It is not just a city, it is a sealed, high-pressure psychological terrarium. Today, we are going to look away from the battlefields of the galaxy and descend into the lightless, suffocating depths of the Hive to deconstruct how an environment of absolute hyperdensity fundamentally mutates the human mind. Welcome back to the abyss. In the modern era, our entire psychological framework is built upon the concept of individuality. We are taught that everyone is unique, that every life has intrinsic value, and that our personal story matters. We all secretly suffer from main character syndrome, but the Hive City cures this syndrome with brutal mathematical efficiency. When you live in a mid-level hab block, sharing a living space the size of a closet with 15 other family members, surrounded by thousands of identical rooms, in a sector containing millions of identical people, the concept of being special is physically crushed out of your psyche. The psychology of the Hive dweller is defined by the absolute, undeniable reality of their own insignificance. If a hab worker falls into a smelting vat, the assembly line does not stop. There is no funeral. There is no mourning period. The supervisor simply pulls the next nameless worker from a line of thousands waiting to take that exact spot. In the Hive, human life is not a tragedy when it ends. It is a cheap, infinitely renewable resource. To survive without going completely insane, the human mind must adapt. The citizen learns to devalue their own life. They stop viewing themselves as a singular entity and begin to view themselves as a single microscopic cell within a massive, rotting organism. They do not fear death because to fear death, you must first believe that your life is important. In the Hive, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are a single speck of rust on a planetary gear. Our environment shapes our neurochemistry, and over 10,000 years, the architecture of the Hive City has successfully re-engineered fundamental human phobias. In our world, locking a human being in a small, dark, enclosed space induces panic. We call it claustrophobia. We crave open spaces, fresh air, and the sight of the horizon. For the Hive dweller, this psychology is completely inverted. The vast majority of imperial citizens are born, live, and die without ever seeing the sun. They never see a natural blue sky. They never step on dirt or grass. Their entire universe is defined by heavy steel ceilings, narrow corridors dripping with condensation, and the comforting, omnipresent heat of millions of bodies packed tightly together. Because of this, the open sky is not a symbol of freedom. It is a symbol of absolute terror. There is a documented psychological condition in the lore known as the Big Blue Blindness, or the Void Panic. If you take a mid-level Hive dweller and force them to the surface of their planet, where there is no ceiling to protect them, their mind will violently reject the stimuli. The absence of a physical barrier above them induces severe vertigo, panic attacks, and psychological collapse. They have been conditioned to find safety in the crush, the heavy polluted air, thick with the scent of ozone, recycled sweat, and machine oil, is the smell of home. The deafening, inescapable roar of the macro generators is the heartbeat of their mother. The Hive is a tomb of iron, but to humanity, it is the only womb they have ever known. The most devastating psychological weapon of the Hive City is its verticality. A hive is a physical manifestation of an absolute caste system. It is geography as a weapon of class warfare. At the very top, piercing the toxic clouds, is the spire. Here, the nobility live in unimaginable luxury. They breathe filtered air, drink real water, and occasionally see actual sunlight. Below them is the upper hive, where the administrators and military officers reside. Then comes the mid-hive, the endless, grinding, industrial purgatory where the billions of factory workers live out their miserable, monotonous lives. And finally, the underhive, a lawless, unmapped nightmare of toxic sumps, mutated horrors, and violent gang warfare. The psychological torture of this structure is that it forces every citizen to constantly look up and constantly look down. If you live in the mid-hive, you know with absolute certainty that true paradise exists just a few miles directly above your head. But the physical barriers, the enforcers, and the rigid societal laws ensure that you will never, ever reach it. This creates a state of perpetual simmering cognitive dissonance. You are asked to worship the nobles who live in the spire as your betters, while you choke on the toxic fumes that their luxury generates. But you cannot rebel because when you look down, you see the underhive. You see the mutants. You see what happens to people who fall. The Hive City controls its population through the perfect equilibrium of hopeless envy for those above and paralyzing terror of those below. Gravity itself enforces the law. To exist in this environment, the human threshold for disgust must be systematically dismantled. The logistical requirements of keeping 100 billion people alive in a sealed structure mean that absolutely nothing can be wasted, not even the dead. When a citizen drinks a cup of water in the lower levels, they are drinking moisture that has been violently recycled through the respiratory systems and bladders of billions of other people, filtered through ancient machines that haven't been properly repaired in centuries. When they eat their daily ration of corpse starch, they are fully aware that they are consuming the hyper-processed, chemically treated remains of the very workers who died on the assembly line yesterday. To us, this is the height of body horror. It is an abomination. But to the hive dweller, it is simply Tuesday. The psychology of survival demands the normalization of the grotesque. If you allow yourself to be disgusted by the reality of your existence, you will starve. The mind builds callous layers of apathy to protect itself. You do not mourn the dead. You thank them for their protein. The human soul becomes just as heavily industrialized as the factories they work in, stripped of all sentimentality and reduced to pure, brutal pragmatism. So, how does the Imperium prevent billions of heavily armed, constantly suffering, starving people from simply giving up or tearing the city apart in a rage? The answer is the masterpiece of imperial psychology. They turned the agony of labor into a religious experience. In the Hive City, work is not an economic transaction. You do not work to improve your life. You work to save your soul. The ecclesiarchy preaches that the immense, deafening factories are cathedrals to the God Emperor. The pulling of a heavy lever, the tightening of a scalding bolt, the breathing in of toxic ash. These are not occupational hazards, they are acts of holy penance. Every ache in your muscles is a prayer. Every hour of lost sleep is a sacrifice to the master of mankind who suffers on the golden throne for your sins. By fusing industrial labor with religious fanaticism, the Imperium has completely hijacked the human search for meaning. When a worker collapses from exhaustion, coughing up blood onto the iron grating, they do not curse the planetary governor. They weep tears of joy, believing that they have finally given their absolute all to the Emperor. The theology of the machine ensures that the chains binding humanity are not made of iron, but of weaponized faith. The psychology of the Hive City is a testament to the most terrifying trait of the human species, our ability to adapt to absolutely anything. We are a creature that can be placed into a lightless, toxic, suffocating box, stripped of our individuality, fed the remains of our ancestors, and told to work until our bones turn to dust. And we will not only survive, we will build a religion around it. The Hive City is not a failure of human engineering. It is the ultimate horrifying victory of human endurance. It is proof that humanity will pay any price, sacrifice any virtue, and endure any nightmare just to keep breathing for one more day. If this descent into the architectural madness of the 41st millennium resonated with you, leave a like and subscribe to the Huckrift. Let me know in the comments. Is there any shred of true humanity left in the depths of the Underhive, or have they become something else entirely? Until next time, the Emperor protects.